Hi, I'm Jason Sanders, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to create a React app and connect it to ChatGPT via OpenAI's API. And it's going to be a simple app where a user can simply enter in a question, send it to ChatGPT, and receive a response. So the first thing that we need to do is fire up a new React app. So I'm going to remove my head here so it doesn't get in the way. And I'm going to go over to Visual Studio Code. And I'm going to show you how you can create a React app from scratch. So what I'm going to do first is open up a terminal and make sure that its directory is pointing to this folder that I created called React Apps for OpenAI. And I'm going to type in npm create, npm create Vita at latest. I'm using something called Vita to create a React app in my Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to hit enter. And it asks for the name of the project. And I think I will call it, let's see, Chat GPT app. Enter, package name, enter. And with your arrow key, you can move up and down, and I'm going to select React. And you can do TypeScript or JavaScript. I'm going to use JavaScript. And it's done. So the next thing to do, it tells you, as you can see in the terminal, it shows you a sequence of commands that it wants you to run next. So the first one is to navigate to the new directory that we created. So cd chat GPT app. Enter. Now we're in the ChatGPT app directory, and then run npm install. Okay. Now this might take a few minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here. Okay, the npm install completed. And then the third thing that it requests is npm run dev. And basically what that does is it fires up this app on a local server on your machine. So I don't need to do it right now, but I'm going to show you what it looks like. npm run dev. And when it does that, it gives you a link to a local link on your local machine where it's running, and you can click on that link. And it takes you to this to your React app. So this is what the React app looks like currently, and but we're going to make some changes to that. So let me go back to Visual Studio Code, and if I click on this here, this shows all of the files that were just created when we did our create Vita at latest. And I'm not going to go through everything here, but I am just going to do a quick cleanup, because whenever you create a React app through Vita, it automatically creates all of these files just like so. And I want to make some changes so that I can create my own app. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to this, well, actually public. I don't need this. So I'm going to delete that. And assets, I don't need this, so I'm going to delete that. Main JSX, I think I'm going to keep everything there. Index CSS, I'm going to delete everything because I have my own CSS that I've already created that I'm going to plug in here. Similarly with app.jsx, I'm not going to delete everything just yet. I'm going to delete these imports here, and I'm going to delete all of this here, and I'm going to type in h1 by JSON, just to make sure that after I've done all these deletions that the app is still working correctly. So I'm going to delete the app CSS file because I'm not going to need that. And let's see what it looks like right now. Perfect. It just says hi JSON. So I got rid of everything that you saw previously and have created basically a blank slate. But there's a few more things that I want to do in the cleanup. I want to go to the index HTML, and I don't need this link here for the icon, for the Vita icon anymore. And I'm going to change the title here to Ask ChatGPT anything. Okay, I think that's going to be the name of my app. So I'm going to enter that here in the title. And I think that's everything for the cleanup. Let me just go back to here. Yes, I think that's everything for the cleanup. So what I want to do next is, so as to not make this incredibly long video, I've already pre-created the code that I want to use, and I will walk you through it, but I'm just going to go to my GitHub and GitHub where I've saved the code, and then copy and paste it. So the first thing I want to do is get the code that I want to use in this app component. And let me go to my GitHub repository, and I'm going to go to React ChatGPT app and go to the source file and click on app.jsx. And I'm going to copy all of this code here. Don't worry, I'm going to walk you through it to explain what it does. But for now, I'm just going to copy and paste. Go back to my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to delete it and then paste all of that code. And then I'm going to go and do the same thing for the CSS. So I'm going to go to this index CSS file and copy all of this code. And go back to my Visual Studio Code and paste it. Okay, so let's see what that did. If I go back to my app, you can see this is how the app looks. So basically, I pasted in here in the app component, the HTML, which you just saw being rendered on the page, and the CSS basically styled it. So I'm not going to go through. This isn't a a tutorial video on HTML and CSS, so I'm not going to go through all of the elements here that I did. But for the purposes of this video, I just wanted to show you what this app is, what it looks like, and the functionality basically is such that the user can type the question in here, type any question, and then click on the submit question button, and an actual response from ChatGPT will be displayed down here. So that's what this app will do. And the next step then is to test, actually to go, I'm going to walk you through the this JavaScript code to explain how it works underneath the hood. So let me pause for a second. Okay. So if you're familiar with React, this app component gets rendered in this main JSX file here under app. So it's importing the app, and the app has two parts to it. One is the JavaScript, and then the other part is the JSX that renders the information to the app page, to the page. So let me just walk you through the code here because it's important to understand what's going on. The first thing that I'm doing is I'm creating two state variables, prompt input and response, basically to manage input and response. So as you can imagine, prompt input is it's gonna contain the question that the user wants to ask ChatGPT, and response is what's going to come back from ChatGPT. Now, this const here is the URL for an Azure function. So this app is basically sending the information or the request, the prompt, to an Azure function, a serverless function, which then in turn is sending it to the OpenAI API and sending that request to the ChatGPT in that manner. And then it's receiving the response back to this Azure function. And then this response then is rendered to this app's page. So I'm not going to go through in this video how to set up an Azure function. If you're not familiar with how to do that, please go and watch a couple of earlier videos that I created that walks you through the steps that are necessary. Also, don't use this specific link because it won't work anymore after I push this video live. Okay, so this next section here is the function that handles the submission. So what do I mean by that? Okay, if we go back to the app here, when somebody types in a question, then it's creating it's automatically entering information to the variable called prompt input, and that's where this code down here is doing it. So here's the HTML section where it's creating an input box here. As you can see, the placeholder, type question here. And what this on change means is that whenever someone types a letter in that prompt or that question box, it's updating this prompt input state variable. So if I type in, please give me a slogan for a raspberry marketing campaign, as I'm typing those letters, it's automatically entering that sentence into this state variable called prompt input. So that's what this on change here does. And once this prompt input, so once you've typed in your question that you want to ask ChatGPT, then you'll click on this submit question button. And so here again is the HTML, and you can see here's where the button is rendered, submit question, and it's in a form. And so when the button is pressed to submit the question, this handle submit function is fired. And that's what this whole function up here is, handle submit. And so what that does is it sends a post request to the Azure function that you created, to this URL. And it sends this body request. And in this case, we're specifying that the model is GPT-3.5 Turbo. And messages, as you can see here, I'm dynamically putting in prompt input. So when you're clicking the button, it's firing this function called handle submit. And the prompt, or the question that you typed in, which was captured in prompt input as you were typing it, is then transferred here, so that we're sending that question to the Azure function, which then will send it to OpenAI's API. And here we've got temperature, which is hard-coded to 0, and then max tokens to 500. So basically, this shows you how you can set things up so a prompt is sent dynamically. Whatever prompt a person types in is sent to the OpenAI API. Okay, this just checks to make sure the response is okay. If something goes wrong, then an error message is thrown. Now, if we don't get an error, if the response is okay, then this code here parses the response message as text. And then this, and stores it in this const message variable. And then that message information, that response that comes back from ChatGPT, is then updated, or the state variable response is updated with that information. So response here then is updated with this new information that we got from our request to ChatGPT. And then finally, this last piece of code here, set prompt input, just resets our input prompt to be empty so that we can send another question over to ChatGPT. And if there's any errors, this is just an error, a catch to handle any errors that occur during the request. So that's pretty much it. Again, as I said before, the section of code here, HTML, is the input field for the user's prompt. Here's the button to submit the question, and then the response is displayed. The response that we get from the Azure function is displayed here. So that is a quick walkthrough of the code that is needed in order to run this app correctly. And the next thing I need to show you is if we tried to run it right now, or if you're following along and you try to run it now, it probably won't work, because what you need to do is, if you're using an Azure function, you need to go into your account and go to the Azure function that you're using. So for example, this URL corresponds to an Azure function that I'm using called completion API. And I need to go to that function, or more specifically, I need to go to the, wait for it to load up. I need to go to the function app that contains that particular function. So you can see completion API is one of my functions that's in my function app, OpenAI 1212. And if you try to run it right after you create it, you may get a CORS error. And that happened to me. And the way to solve it is go into your Microsoft Azure account, click on this, and go to your function app that contains the function that you need, and click on cores. And it's going to request you to enter. So in these boxes, you can request, or you can enter the URL of any website that you want to have access to your Azure function. And easiest thing I found to do was just enter in a star. A star basically means everything is allowed. So you don't have to worry about entering in multiple websites. So when I did this, first you'd need to allow the local environment access, and then I'm going to show you how to deploy this to the actual web using Netlify. And I don't know what the name of the URL that Netlify is going to create just yet. So as a failsafe, just enter in star. That will allow everything. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new terminal. And I actually need to navigate back to ChatGPT app. And I'm going to fire this up again, npm run dev, because I want to test to make sure it's actually working. And I'm going to click on this link. And I'm going to remove my head here. And I'm going to type a question. Let's see, what should I ask? Please give me a catchy slogan for a fast food company. And let's see what happens. So what I'm doing here is I'm submitting this question in our app that we just created to my Microsoft Azure serverless function, which is then sending the information to OpenAI's API, and hopefully we'll get a response from ChatGPT. Perfect. Deliciously fast, unforgettable taste. Let's try another one. What should I ask? Please give me 5 catchy slogans for a car company. There we go. Drive into the future with car company. Okay, so here's a good example of where we could refine this by giving the actual name of the car company if we wanted, but I'm not going to do that right now. This is sufficient for our needs. The next thing I want to do is, so we've created this app in React and it's running successfully locally. And I want to show you how to actually deploy it to the web. And we can do that. You can do that for free. You can sign up for a free account with Netlify and upload files to Netlify, and it'll publish it to the web. So actually, the way I'm going to do it is I actually already uploaded all of the code that we use to create this React app. I uploaded it to GitHub. And if you have a GitHub account, I would recommend that you do that too. It's a great way to save your work and have a record of it. But Sometimes I find that for React in particular, linking my Netlify or uploading my project that's in GitHub to Netlify works better than uploading files manually into my Netlify account. So here's what I mean by that. Here's my Netlify account. And again, as I said earlier, or as I said before, you can create a free account. And when you do, here's my landing page, and I can just simply click here, add new site. And I'm going to click on, so that's what I meant by deploy manually. It does allow you to drag and drop your output site files here manually to generate a website. But I found that sometimes that doesn't work very well with React or with Vita, the package that I use to create React, that it works better if I actually deploy from GitHub. So how you do that is add a new site and then select import existing project and then select deploy with GitHub. And then you can scroll down to find the name of your project. I have a lot here, as you can see. I don't think I see it here. So that's not unusual. So if you don't see it listed here, what you can do is you can go click on configure the Netlify app on GitHub. And I'm going to sign into my GitHub. Okay. And then I'm going to scroll down and select repository access. So I'm going to, this is already only select repositories, and I'm going to click on select repositories, and I'm going to look for my ChatGPT, React ChatGPT app. I'm going to click on that and click save, and it'll automatically redirect you to Netlify. And it should show up now here in this list. And it does. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm brought to this page that says let's deploy your project. And I'm just going to leave everything as is. I'm not going to make any changes. And I'm going to click deploy React ChatGPT app. And it's in progress. And I think I'll pause the video while we're waiting for this. Okay, so it successfully deployed our app to the web. And here is the actual website where it's deployed. So I'm going to click on that. And here's our URL for our website. And let's test it to see if it works. So give me slogan for a car company for a luxury car company. Submit question, and let's see if we get a response. Great. Exquisite elegance, unparalleled performance. Let's try another one. Please write a catchy jingle for a marketing campaign for a race car. Question. Oops, there we go. It's a little bit big for our app here, so we might have to make some adjustments, but and probably some adjustments to the responses that we get back. But as you can see, this is really cool. Let's try one more. Give me a give me 5 potential names for a mystery novel set in New York City. There we go. Shadows of the City, The Manhattan Enigma, Murder on Fifth Avenue, Gotham Secrets, and The Puzzle of Central Park. So as you can see, this app works. There probably needs to be a little bit of adjustments in terms of the responses that get back, responses that come back for the more lengthy ones. This box here probably needs to be a little bit more dynamic to contain it, and some formatting might need to be done. But this basically shows you how to do it, and I hope this video was helpful, and I will see you next time.